What is going on, everyone? It's me, Troy, and I'm here, of course, again with the video. And I was tagged to do this tag, which for some reason I didn't write the name of the tag down, but I was tagged about reading through the generations, which of course I'll put a link to her channel down below. But the originators of the tags are Thoughts on Tomes, and my name is Marinez. So there's about 15 questions on this particular tag, and I said I just want to do 5. And I figured I would try to take the time to do this tag because, number one, I reached 2,000 subscribers this year, and as I said before, I feel like that's a vanity count, but it's still a milestone. So, I try to give some, I don't know. Don't get me wrong, I definitely appreciate it 100%. But my point still is that there are some people that may or may not know me as much as those who've been following me for the years, and I figured that this tag and answering these questions, while some of it may be some repeated information, some of the answers might be new to some viewers. So anyway, I am right here directly in the sun, but that's what I love because it's nice and warm. So anyway, the first question that I want to answer is, how do you approach reviewing books? What's your review style? Are you analytical, emotional, casual, or structured? So that's a bunch of questions in one question, all right? One block of questions. So how do I approach reviewing books? I do it as simple as, well, first of all, I've always never really liked using the term review. I use it for, if I have to use it, I'd use it just to make it easier, less complicated. But as you know, throughout the years, I usually name my review-centric or video-centered on one particular book. Chop it up, chop it up, because I feel like that this is my way of just having a casual conversation about my thoughts about a book, and that's how I approach that's how I approach reviewing books. Is I just approach it from like the standpoint of me speaking into this camera as if I'm calling a friend on the phone. That's simple. What's your review style? It's very casual. It's just me sharing exactly what it is that I feel about a book, both the good and the bad, and being completely honest when it comes to DNFs. That's one thing. I don't try to, if I got to DNF a book, I'm going to be like, I got to DNF it. It ain't going to be no, I ain't finna feels don't know any type of way about it. But my review style is very casual. And one of the things is that I really try to just continue to aim for is just that my thoughts are organic and true to who I am, true to my feelings, true to how I felt about the book. And that way, from that point forward, either it could trickle down from casual to something more analytical or emotional, or as the question asks, more structured. I'm not really good with structuring things out. I think I tried one time to outline a video and I couldn't do it. So usually my thoughts when it comes to reviews are just something that I just lay on the table, and I've always tell people who watch my channel, what you see is pretty much what you get, and I quickly move on to the next book. So the second question is, do you have any deal breakers in books, something that if present immediately turns you off from a book? Not necessarily a deal breaker per se, but one thing I will say that immediately would turn me off a book or would sour my experience or would make it less likely that I finish reading a book is, as you know, the terminology that we use now is like essay or grape. I'm an elder millennial, so it's like I don't really see using these different euphemisms and things like that. But yeah, usually if there's like essay or grape, this is so weird to me, that completely turns me off a book. Everything outside of that is fairly fair game. It typically depends on what the author's, if it's something that's a device used to push a narrative or push a story, or if it's a device that's used to really talk about what it really means to experience that type of trauma. So the third question is, how do you decide what to read next? Do you plan ahead, mood read, or follow external factors like hype, recommendations, or arcs? I'm telling you, over here it's laissez-faire, over here is tabula rasa, over here is carpe diem. It's whatever it is that I want to do. Now, that's not saying that, per the question, like hype doesn't come into a factor when it comes to me picking out a book or recommendations, certainly. So, or I don't even get ARCs. I remember when I first started trying to do BookTube, I never got ARCs. I wasn't one of the ones who ever got any ARCs, not one time. So I just quit. Like NetGalley, I was like, shoot, just let me delete my account. I wasn't popular enough. I don't think I fit the aesthetic for that sort of thing. But how I decide my book, it ranges. Sometimes it's mood. Sometimes it's just me wanting to bite into something that brings comfortability. Like I've always shared before, golden age crime fiction. Sometimes it's me wanting to get into something really high fantasy. And so yeah, it really does depend on the mood, because I do tend to buy a lot of new releases, and sometimes they don't get read until like a year or so later, because that's just not where I'm at that time. And then there's also in a lot of cases where I get a new release and I immediately read it right away. Another way that I sometimes decide to what I'm going to read is I generate a TBR. Usually I try to find inspiration in something that's currently going on in my life. Like one year I was playing Tomb Raider heavily, so I said let me put a TBR of books fashioned around like adventure and women protagonists, that sort of thing. And then sometimes, like recently I read Nora Roberts' books all within the month of August and flipped it. So sometimes I'll just generate a TBR to help me clear books off my shelf and answer some curiosity for certain books and authors that I've had, just stuck in reading limbo for so many years. And then another way that I end up deciding what I want to read next is I just have a spin the wheel app. I do a randomizer, and then I pick the book and I just chomp down on there. But my favorite thing to do really is to put a TBR together, because I like being able to just not have to look through my shelf about what I want to read next. And then all I got to do is just pull and go. But yeah, that's kind of how I choose what to read next. Not so much what's hype, not so much what's current. It's what I want to do. It's always been like that. So number 4, where do you get inspiration for your BookTube content? What sparks your video ideas, other creators, trends, personal reading experiences? I get my content just like foundationally speaking, my content is just what I'm reading. Like I always say, I tap into my reading spirit. I share my reading journey. It really is that simple with me. I used to be much more active in the community itself, but as I gotten older and as time moved on, and I kind of realized that at some point I'm a terrible booktuber. I'm not really somebody who fits in all the way. I just kind of try to focus on just doing what is true to myself and letting other people decide whether or not they want to be receptive to these things or my approach or my thoughts on books or not. I'm not good at being a part of cliques or groups and things like that. Although I do want to foster those kind of relationships. To me, it's all about the simplicity of it all. It's just, here it is what I read. I'm sharing what I read. We can either relate or we can't. Let's converse on it, etc., etc. So simple with me. I'm telling you, so simple. And that's how I am about life anyway. I don't like a lot of rigmarole. I don't like a lot of drama. I don't like a lot of cliques and all that kind of stuff. So the last question I want to answer is, what's the book that made you a reader, whether it was your first favorite or one that got you hooked? What started it all? I think I spoke about this before, going to the library and checking out those Flicka-Ricka-Dicka and Snip Snap Snurd books as a toddler or whatnot, real young. But when I really think about what, as an adult, what really shaped me or what really set out as the first caboose to hitch onto my train was in the middle school years, reading a lot of Fear Street. That is something, or that series has definitely laid the foundation down for my love of mysteries, because those were mysteries between the whodunits and high school slasher. There's the whodunit, there's the slashers, there's the paranormals. The Fear Street series took on a range of different subcategories or subgenres of mysteries. So that definitely was very prominent in my love of mysteries. And then growing up reading Animorphs, that sort of thing, is very much into my love of fantasy and adventures and science fiction, even though I don't read enough science fiction as I wish I would have. But when it when it came to transitioning from those books, the books or the authors that really helped me with that was The Joy Luck Club by Amy Tan and Beloved by Toni Morrison. Those I've always and then of course Sue Grafton's A is for Alibi. I've always stapled those books as transitional books, the ones that graduated me as a reader, growing up. So those are the primary books and authors and series that I would say that laid the groundwork for me being the reader that I am today. So anyway, guys, that's all the questions I wanted to answer. Hopefully that helped. Well, I don't want to say it helped nobody, but hopefully that you got some information out of that. I suppose, I wish I could be more thorough and really undress this, but unfortunately I just don't have that kind of time. So I just wanted to rapid fire answer them. If you want to answer any of these questions, please leave them down below. If you have any more questions, I would love to answer them. And I do kind of want to do a Q&A. So I don't, I did one once before, but Q&As are kind of weird to me because it's like I'm boring. I really don't have nothing to talk about. I just like to talk about books. But if you would like to do a Q&A, that I'll just kind of look and see if people respond in that manner in the comments later on, and then put a video together. But that is it. I gotta go. I enjoy being in the sun, getting my vitamin D, and it's time to book it.